Thank you for inviting me here, Rod. I've known Rod for probably 49 years. Methodist Church in Rosewood Heights. His wife and children went there, and I knew Leanne quite well. And so thank you very much, Rod, for inviting me up here. I appreciate that. When I ran about 3 years ago for Wood River Township, I identified things that were of concern for me as I'm raising my kids in the area and wanting them to come back to this area. And one of the major concerns that I thought at the time, and still do at this time, is that property taxes were high. And if you're a taxing entity, I just want you to know this is not against any taxing entity whatsoever. Obviously, being in government, I understand why you need revenue in these entities, but the property taxes I felt were very significantly higher than when I was a younger person, and then obviously higher than when my mom and dad were raising us as kids. And I thought that that was somewhat of a hindrance sometimes for corporations to possibly come in, bring in new employees. It could be one of those things that could be looked at and possibly worked on over a period of time. So that was one of my driving forces behind the idea of me running for Wood River Township. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background on myself, I was born and raised in Rosewood Heights, East Alton area. I was born and raised on Rondell. Moved to East Howler, spent 10 years at almost both of them. And then, of course, I went to Lewis and Clark College after that, finished an electronics degree, and with that I went to SIU and finished a bachelor's degree in science. So I'm kind of a long-time member, if you will, in this community, and I love the schools in which I was born and raised in, because these educations allowed me and provided me the opportunity to educate myself and understand some of the issues and things that we're dealing with in our neighborhood. And I look abroad into the area, and I ask myself, even now to this day, are we gaining jobs in the area, or are we losing jobs in the area? And when I think of Laclede Steel, and I think of the Alton Box Board, and I think of the Glassworks and the Mold Shop, and now soon to be Olin, who's slipping hundreds of people out a month, if not even faster than that, and they're down to somewhere around 1,600 people. And I ask myself this question: what can I do? What can I do? And obviously, as Wood River Township Supervisor, I can't do a lot, okay? But I can do my small part in that particular operation. And so what I consciously made a commitment to do was basically 4 things. One was to cut government spending. In the first year that I was there, I took a look at it. I analyzed what was actually taking place. Some events took place that I really was very concerned about. Some things I did not want to handle, some things I did not want to tackle, and some things I did not want to go down that road, quite frankly. But unfortunately, as Township Supervisor, making a commitment to the people, I thought it was necessary to make sure that we were running a clean ship, quite frankly. And in the process of doing that, things came out, and we were able to cut budgets, quite frankly. Cut my budget, and we cut the assessor's budget. That being said, it was a very difficult thing to do, because when you do that, oftentimes people unfortunately get laid off. In our case, on the township side, we didn't have to do that. Someone actually retired, but in the assessors, it was a little bit different story. And for that, I apologize. I'm not looking to get rid of anybody. I'd like to create jobs. That was one of my 4 things on my list of things that I wanted to do. So we cut spending, and as a result of that, we're running a surplus right now of about $176,000. Now that doesn't seem like a lot of money, but on a budget of about $1 million, a little bit more than $1 million, we're actually running a surplus. And at the same time, we have about $1.7 million in the bank. That's not including the Highway Commissioner's Office, which means that we're budgeted at 1.5 times more. We're allowed to go to 2.5 before we have to give some of that money back. And there's some other things that are actually developing right now that could potentially put more money back into the taxpayer's pocket, rather than taking that money and using it for other things inside the township. And so my goal was, not only did I want to reduce government spending, but also reduce property taxes. Well, for the first time, promise made on the first one, promise kept, Promise made on the second one, for the first time in Wood River Township history, we're actually going to lower the levy. And what that means is we're going to lower your taxes. Now, I would like to think that people would be excited about that, because maybe we can get a trend going here. Because if we run an efficient system, we can actually somehow, if nothing else, keep it the same for a while until the economy catches up with us. Because the economy is struggling right now. And it took a huge hit, obviously, 3 years ago. So I made that promise, and we'll be voting on that levy on the 20th, which is next Tuesday night. You're more than welcome to come to the township anytime and come in and talk to the board members and what have you. But we're going to actually lower the levy by 1.15. Now that's going to probably put all of $4 back in your pocket per year. It's not much. And I know we can all probably laugh at that, right? Because it really isn't much money. But the truth of the matter, it's a start. It's a small start, but it's a start. And the third thing that I promise to the taxpayers is to communicate to the public better and more. So here's two things that we actually did. We started a website, and now we put everything on that website so that everyone can have an opportunity to go on there and see what we're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. We don't leave any information out. Whatever we talk about, we communicate to the public. If anybody wants to come to me and ask me the truth, about the truth, I'm going to tell them the honest God's truth based on every vantage point that I know it. And I think that's good for politicians to be able to do that, because it shows that there's a respect from the public back to the people. But see, we're there to serve the people. The people aren't there to serve us. So we want to serve you, because that's actually who owns the township, is you. And I think that's important. And so we did that, and we also put our checkbook online. So if you want to check out what we're doing, just go right online and identify what we're spending our bills on. And if you have a concern or a question or an issue that needs to be addressed regarding any check that we cut to any business, I play no favorites. I show no political action there whatsoever. I will not give out money to someone that's just my friend. I will only do it if it's the right thing to do, and we actually bid everything. There was a time when bidding wasn't taking place inside the township. It's taking place now. Okay, so that's a healthy thing. All that is right out there in public for you guys to see, and that's an honest government, and that's what we want. And finally, now this one's very hard to do, but I wanted to create an atmosphere that would actually bring job creation back into the area. I mentioned to you earlier that we've lost all these, we've lost 20 to 30,000 union jobs in our area. 20 to 30,000 union jobs in our area. And there's plans in place in each community, such as Wood River. Wood River's building up well, very good. Bethalto, we really don't have a lot of corporations out there, unfortunately, so the tax burden is actually on the owner of the home, not necessarily the corporation. ConocoPhillips does extremely well for Roxanne School District and all the government entities right there. God bless ConocoPhillips, because we've been in full employment around this area because of Olin and ConocoPhillips in the worst 3 years we've seen in American history since the Great Depression. So I wanted to create an atmosphere of jobs, and I realized that's very difficult to do as your Wood River Township Supervisor. As a Township Supervisor, you don't control that activity. You don't have money to lure corporations back into the area. You just don't have it. It has to be done at a different level. It could be done at Madison County level, but it's primarily done at the at the level of city government, such as Wood River, such as East Alton. Mayor Bright's going to have a difficult time losing the largest taxing entity in his area, which is Alton. And I pray that they'll cease somewhere close to 1,000 people and keep 1,000 people in this area. I wish I was part of those negotiations. I certainly would have done everything I could to keep all it. And I'm sure everyone did that tried to. So that being said, I made 4 promises. The last promise was very difficult to keep, because as a job creator, you got to have an incentive to bring jobs to the area. But I will tell you this, there's 4 things that we can do to bring jobs to the area. We got to find a way to reform workers' compensation in the state of Illinois. Number 1. Number 2, we got to find a way to reform the pension plan that's going on right now so that it's not an extreme burden to the taxpayer. Number 3, there is a balanced budget amendment at the state of Illinois level, we got to balance our budget. And number 4, at the end of the day, you'd like to think, you'd hope at the end of the day that we can create jobs because of that. Because when we have a balanced budget, we have more money to use to bring in economic activity into our state and not raise taxes on corporations that we just did. 47% increase on taxes on corporations has hurt these corporations, and many of them want to move out. We want to keep them here. We want jobs in our area, and that's exactly what I want to try and do.